The Rocky Horror Picture Show is a film that became a cult phenomenon. Even to this day, it's pretty well known, and you can find tons of screening for it across America every year. Hell, I was even able to find an upcoming one not too far from where I live. It's a film that truly needs no introduction. Unfortunately, it's also a film that seems to completely overshadow a similar film. Another eccentric rock opera, and one that I believe to be a much better film overall. Its title is Phantom of the Paradise. Phantom of the Paradise was directed by Brian De Palma, most known for films like Carrie, Scarface, and Dressed to Kill. The film opened October 31st, 1974, about 1 year before the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was met with negative reviews and was a total box office flop. Okay, that isn't entirely true. It was a flop everywhere except for Paris, France, and Winnipeg, Canada, where it was a huge hit. In fact, it was such a hit in Winnipeg that it stayed on screens for 4 straight months, as well as off and on for the next couple of years. It's such a phenomenon in Winnipeg that in 2005 it actually spawned an annual festival called Phantompalooza. Phantom of the Paradise follows a naive and arrogant musician by the name of Winslow Leach, who ends up falling victim to a music producer known as Swan. Swan wants Winslow's music, but he doesn't want to give him any credit for it. A battle then ensues between the two men as they fight over the music, as well as a talented young female singer known as Phoenix. The actor William Finley, who's a De Palma regular, turns in a wonderful dual performance playing Winslow Leach and his transformation into the Phantom of the Paradise. Aside from his truly terrible lip syncing, he does a fantastic job in the role.
And as I live my role, I swore I'd sell my soul for one love.
Starring opposite Finley is Paul Williams, who you probably recognize for having written a number of popular songs in the 1970s, for artists like Three Dogs Night and David Bowie, and films like A Star is Born and The Muppet Movie, though I personally recognize him from his cameo on Dexter's Lab. Originally, director Brian De Palma tried to get Paul Williams to play the Phantom, but Williams claimed he simply wasn't scary enough to play the role. However, Williams loved the idea of playing the evil music producer Swan, a character who was inspired by real-life music producer Phil Spector. The ability to play this over-the-top evil character who is also egomaniacal and charming was something that Williams enjoyed.
Breakfast. Pick me up.
There's also the stunning Jessica Harper, who's best known for starring in the Dario Argento film Suspira. Harper plays the role of Phoenix, a woman with a beautiful voice who the Phantom and Swan fight over. You also get great performances from Garrett Graham, who plays Beef, George Mamoli, who plays the muscle Swan named Arnold Philbin, and Rod Sterling, who voices the narration at the beginning of the film. Along with starring in the film, Paul Williams also did the score. He wrote both the music and lyrics for every song in the soundtrack. The score earned him a nomination for a Golden Globe and an Academy Award, and it features songs parodying different trends in rock music at the time. You have 50s revivalism,
Little Eddie Mitty, born in Jersey City, started singing when he was 5.
a Beach Boys-esque surfer rock jam, and the excesses of glam rock, with the character Beef being a caricature of various glam rock artists of the time.
I can see that you're the devil's pride. Do you realize that all of you don't have some hope? For you hated that was part of you. I'm your nightmares coming true. I am your crime.
The film is very much a rock opera that satirizes the rock music industry at the time. As the actor William Finley described it, director Brian De Palma wrote the script originally in 1969. He used to hang out at the Fillmore and take a lot of pictures, and he noticed as the 60s were ending that we were starting to see a lot more printing self-regard by the frontmen of bands, and the kids having an unhealthy attraction to it. I actually think that Robert Plant was originally the model for Beef, but the character kept evolving. Still, I think Brian was very prescient about the coming of glam rock and the narcissism that came with it. He always had a good read on rock culture. The plot of the film is a combination of Oscar Wilde's A Picture of Dorian Gray, the German legend of Faust, and of course the Phantom of the Opera, though not the novel but the 1943 film adaptation of it. There's also plenty of other references, including to Hitchcock, and in particular one shot that evokes Orson Welles' A Touch of Evil. Along with the wonderful music, the visual in this film are also a treat. Set designer Jack Fisk and costume designer Rosanna Norton did a lot of great work for the film, and the cinematographer Larry Pizer was able to capture so many wonderful shots, like this scene of Philbin conversing with an off-screen Swan as the lights of the stage shine in the background, or the shot of Phantom running through the hallway as his cape billows behind him. Even better is the fact that the editor Paul Hirsch knows when to make rapid cuts and when to take time to linger on a shot. It allows the visuals to be just as much fun to enjoy as the music. Interestingly, the film ran into a bunch of legal problems during production. The original title for the film was The Phantom of the Fillmore, like the famous music venue in San Francisco, but owner Bill Graham refused De Palma permission to use the venue's name in this film. Then the working title of the film was changed to Phantom, which garnered its own legal threats from the owners of the comic strip, The Phantom. Then you had the trouble over their final release title, Phantom of the Paradise from Universal, until they were able to prove that Gaston Leroux's novel Phantom of the Opera was actually a public domain work. Finally, and most infamous of them all, was the lawsuit over the original name for Swan's record company, Swan Song Enterprises. It came from Peter Grant, who was manager of Led Zeppelin. You see, Led Zeppelin's own record label that they launched in May of 1974 was called Swan Song Records. Even though they were confident they could win the lawsuit, they thought it might jeopardize the purchase of the film by the 20th Century Fox, so fearing that, De Palma removed all references to Swan Song in the film before its release. But you can still see a few references to Swan Song Enterprises if you know where to look in the film. Besides legal problems, the film also had a problem getting funding. No studio was really interested in financing the project, so they ended up getting lucky when producer Edward R. Pressman financed them. Pressman is heir to Pressman Toys and often uses his personal fortune to boost filmmakers that he finds interesting. In fact, the scenes in the film that depict a prison and a record pressing plant were shot at his family's toy factory. Now, even though this film wasn't a hit, it still managed to inspire many artists working today. Directors like Quentin Tarantino, Guillermo del Toro, and Edgar Wright all cite the film as a huge influence and favorite of theirs. It's also loved by musical artists like Frank Ocean, and more obviously Daft Punk. The two men behind Daft Punk apparently met several decades ago when they watched the film over 20 times together. In 2013, the two of them would collaborate with Paul Williams on their album Random Access Memories, with the songs Touch and Beyond being co-written by Williams. Their own directorial debut, Electrorama, also happens to feature a hero who's clad in black leather and wears a helmet. I would also gamble that the film inspired Kentaro Miura, the man behind Berserk, because the design of Griffith's helmet is just too similar to the Phantom's to be a coincidence. Anyways, Phantom of the Paradise is an over-the-top rock opera that I would 100% recommend checking out. Especially if you like Rocky Horror Picture Show and its weirdness, but wish that a better film was attached to that weirdness. Oh, before I go, there's a couple fun facts about the film that I forgot to mention, but both of them are kind of spoilery, so I would turn the video off now if you want to go check out the film for yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. First fact is that the electronic room where Winslow composes his cantata as the Phantom, the one where Swan also restores his voice, it's actually a real-life recording studio called the Recording Plant. The walls that are covered in knobs are an oversized custom-built electronic synthesizer dubbed Tonto, and it still exists today. Second fact, the record press I mentioned earlier, the one where Winslow gets disfigured, is actually a real pressing plant owned by Pressman Toys. Actor William Finley was concerned about the machine's safety, but he was assured by the crew that it was entirely safe and that he could put his face in there without any worries. You see, the press itself was fitted with these foam pads as well as chocks that were put in the center to stop it from completely closing. Unfortunately though, the machine was powerful enough to crush the chocks, so the machine actually gradually kept closing on Finley. Luckily, Finley pulled out in time and avoided serious injury, thanks in part to his own speed. The scream you hear from Winslow during that scene is actually Finley's real scream during the event where his head almost gets crushed, so it's not acting. But it works great in the final cut of the film, gotta say. But again, go check out this film for yourself, it's great.
Good for nothing, bad in bed. Nobody likes you and you're better off dead. Goodbye, goodbye. We've all come to say goodbye, 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 goodbye.